the way you should be born, natural birth. You're born in a hospital, you see bright lights where it should be dark. You have that fear factor coming into your body right away. The next thing you know, you're watching specific cartoons on TV. You're being fed sugar, the sugar alone was one of the biggest engineering projects ever to get people addicted to sugar because it's a poison.
All right, guys, he's back. We got Dr. Edward Group. He used to have hundreds of millions of followers and got deleted off the internet.
I did get deleted off the internet for talking about things I shouldn't be talking about. That's what censorship is all about. So it was pretty wild and crazy. That was from 2015 to 2018. I was getting hundreds and hundreds of millions of views. I was very popular online. YouTube, that's before really the heavy duty censorship started happening. A big part of my research has been the root cause of disease and helping people out. And I've been doing that for 30 years, dating back 30 years ago when I even almost got killed for having a cancer clinic treating people with alternative methods for cancer. That was back then. There was about, in the 90s, this was even before the internet, there was probably only 40 or 50 advanced alternative oncologists. That's kind of what they named us. We specialized in cancer treatment naturally. And we were going up against Big Pharma back then. They didn't like what we were doing and didn't want the information to get out that people could actually heal themselves of any kind of disease.
Right.
And that led me down lots of rabbit holes, for looking at why is all this happening? Why is there fluoride in the water? We don't need fluoride in the water. Are you kidding me? Why are they putting mercury in people's mouths? Why are we, transitioning to all this processed food and all these chemicals and poisons? And what the conclusion that I came to is the root cause of all conditions, all health conditions, diseases, everything is nothing more than a toxic internal and external environment. An external environment could be who you're hanging out with. It could be the mold in your house. It could be what you're watching on TV. We identified thousands of things in your external environment that ultimately poison you. Like thoughts can be poisons. And when you get poisoned, just like Tesla and Einstein said, everything is in energy and vibration. It lowers your vibrational frequencies.
Right.
So then the second thing was the internal environment, poisoning of the internal environment. And that's going to be through the processed foods, the chemicals, the toxins, the parasites, all this other stuff that people are taking inside of themselves. And when people get too much of that inside their system, they end up getting disease. Their body can't detoxify it. Ultimately, what I realized, because I'm all about simplicity, is that everything comes down to 4 words. Your whole life comes down to 4 words. Poisons, and the solution for that is detoxification. And the other 2 words is time and decisions. I learned the most valuable asset in the world is your time, because it's the time that you can never get back.
Right.
I've helped many billionaires and the royal family and many movie stars, and I've always asked them, they get to the point where they come to see me and they're in their 60s or 70s or something like that, and they're sick and they have all the money in the world, but they're unhappy. They've been married 5 or 6 times. And so I learned really early on by asking them those questions, what would you have done different? And every single one of them was, well, I wish I would have spent more time with my kids. I wish I would have spent more time on my health. I wish I would have spent more time working on building my relationship and strengthening my relationship. Now I'm on my 6th wife or husband. I wish I would have spent more time spiritually, growing myself spiritually. So I told myself I'm never going to be in that state. I'm never going to wish I would have done something. I'm always going to do it now, because now is the time for everything.
Right.
Change is only a split second away. It's only a decision away. So I started in 2016 looking at putting the pieces together, because I kept hearing this nano stuff, this nanotechnology that Big Pharma was working on. And I always had an eye on Big Pharma, watching them.
Yeah.
I started pulling up documents from even going back to 1998 about how they were creating these bioweapons, or they were creating different types of aerosolized nanoparticle, lipid nanoparticle technology. And by that point in time, I had been on the Alex Jones show about 75 times releasing the information because I had...
As a B2B marketer, you know how noisy the ad space can be. If your message isn't targeted to the right audience, it just disappears into the noise. With LinkedIn ads, you could precisely reach the professionals who are more likely to find your ad relevant with LinkedIn targeting capabilities. You can reach them by job title, industry, company, and more. Stand out with LinkedIn ads and start converting your B2B audience into high-quality leads today. LinkedIn ads allows you to build the right relationships, drive results, and reach your customers in a respectful environment. You'll have direct access to and build relationships with decision makers. 1 billion members are on their platform, 180 million senior level executives, and 10 million C-level executives. You'll be able to drive results with targeting and measurement tools built specifically for B2B in technology. LinkedIn generated 2 to 5x higher return on ad spend than any other social media platform, and you'll work with a partner who respects the B2B world you operate in. 79% of B2B content marketers said LinkedIn produces the best results for paid media. LinkedIn has been a great platform for me to also find interesting podcast guests. If you're interested, start converting your B2B audience into high-quality leads today. We'll give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/social to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/social. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be.
A lot of contacts that were giving me information on what was coming and projects they were working on. And not that I asked to get into this, but it's just, you know, for some reason I was just the chosen one or something to get this information and to put it out to everybody. And in 2018, I had the pieces together to a certain degree, and I called Alex up and I said, hey, my whole thing was he had a platform at that time, and I wanted to get the information out to the public. And he had a large group of listeners at the time. And so I went on the show in 2018. It was my last show ever on Alex Jones. And what I said on that show was they're going to create a pandemic. They've developed what they're going to call vaccines, but they're actually bioweapons. They have lipid nanoparticle technology in there. They have other nanotechnology in there. They have plasmids in there. That this is the beginning stage of the transhumanism agenda. And back then, you know, the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab, I mean, they were you could hear little hints of this transhumanism thing, but nobody even knew what that was. And still today, nobody knows what that transhumanism stuff is.
Right.
So I came out and I said exactly what was going to happen. They're going to come out with this fake thing. They're going to lock everybody down. They're going to coerce everybody into getting this bioweapon injection. And lo and behold, come 2020, first of all, after that show, after that 2018 show, within days, I had death threats. All my employees had death threats.
Wow.
And Alex got nailed. And that was pretty much when all of his videos got wiped clean from everywhere online. All of my videos got wiped clean. Basically, they made me disappear within a week. Crazy, just completely disappear. Now, fast forward to 2020 when the pandemic happened. Well, Alex replayed that video from 2018 and said scientists predict exactly what happens for pandemic. Well, it just so happens I know a lot of people like you in the scenes, and I've developed programs and protocols, natural protocols for people for 30 years, to have them get rid of whatever disease they're suffering from. Because really the true definition of a doctor is a teacher, not a prescriber. And it's really more simple about just detoxification, but you have to do high-level detoxification. That's why I started my supplement company years ago, which is a high-level, handmade alchemy, high-vibration, high-energy supplements that are really designed on a high level of therapeutics. But what happened when 2020 happened, there was a task force the government was putting together under Trump. It was the task force. You heard about it on TV.
Yep.
There was 27 doctors chosen for that task force. I was one of those doctors. We thought that we were going to be able to come in and everything was going to be fine and dandy, and we're going to say, hey, this is... Everybody on the team, by the way, knew that this was a fake situation going on. This was... I don't want to say fake in the sense that, people didn't get... I mean, I've got the documentation that shows that certain 5G pulses actually produce the same exact symptoms of with low oxygenation and there was definitely something that we believe was put in the water, that was sprayed in the air, that was a bioweapon that was creating these symptoms. But when I say fake, I'm saying the whole charade of, the mask, and it was an experiment to see how many people would just roll over and fold over and say, yes, master, I'm going to do whatever you tell me to do. I mean, for what they were claiming was the virus, it would be like me putting a chain link fence around my house, holes this big and, to keep the mosquitoes out. I mean, there's no possible way you're going to keep that bioweapon out of the body.
Right.
And so when we got together on the task force, we were given the directive, okay, find out what this is and find out what we can use to eliminate it. Well, we started looking and things just didn't make sense. We still couldn't identify what it is and what they were calling or what they were calling spike protein. It just, there was nothing there. I mean, yes, we found some like foreign protein particles and stuff like that, but when we traced it back, it was more or less like biological weapons that had been created. And well, at the same time, we were looking for things that we could use to help the public. And our first report was a 17-page paper on iodine's efficacy because the government had 6 billion or more stockpiled potassium iodide tablets. They just could have handed out to the whole population right away.
Yeah.
But we quickly learned that that wasn't the agenda that was going on. You heard everything about Operation Warp Speed, but what was really going on behind the scenes was Operations Telecommunications Upgrade. All what I'm telling you now leads us into what this so-called transhumanism agenda is really all about, because my research team, well, I shouldn't say my research team because myself, Mike Adams, Dr. Mercola, Judy Mikovits, Dr. Brian Artis, I mean, there's many, many other beautiful researchers out there that have put their life on the line to look at microscopy images and to try to figure out and piece this whole thing together of what's really going on. So I was always, since 2016, fascinated with what Big Pharma was doing using this nanotech and putting it in medicine and all this other stuff. So the transhumanism, I was like, everybody I asked, I said, what's this transhumanism agenda going on? I don't know. So I got our whole research team together and started working on all this and tried to figure out what exactly are they doing. And what we found is there's multiple vectors. It's like a spoke and hub model of a bicycle wheel. You have the hub, which is a transhumanism, which they talk about. And it's defined as creating a half human, half cyborg, controllable person that they can control. When I say they, that's an elite group of people at the top that want to control the agriculture. They want to control the food supply. They want to control the big pharma. They want to ultimately control the human race all over the world. I know that sounds weird, but now let me just say for everybody who's listening right now, just because that's their agenda doesn't mean that they're going to win.
Right.
Okay. I don't want people to think doom and gloom here. So what our team has done over the last couple years is try to figure out every single piece of what they're trying to do and the vectors that they're using. And the biggest vector that they're using is frequencies. They're using, if you look at the DARPA documents, if you look at the Army War College documents, if you look at the DOD documents, and you look at some other, deep level documents, which I'll be happy to share with you if any of your listeners want to see some of that stuff. They don't refer to those towers as cell phone towers. They refer to those as directed energy weapons, DEWs. They actually refer to your phone as a DEW, directed energy weapon, your router as a directed energy weapon, anything, your TV, anything smart this, smart that. What we found is shocking because I've got some of the top microscopes in the world and we've been looking at people's blood, whether, I don't even call it a vaccine, by the way, I call it a bioweapon. So whether or not you've even had the bioweapon or not, what we've seen in people's bloods, the first phase of the transhumanism agenda, when we started looking at everybody's blood probably about six to 8 months ago, all we saw were quantum dots. Anyone can type in biomedical quantum dots. You're going to come up with all kinds of patents from all kinds of documentation on there to show you that they've been working on this since the late 90s. Now, what they're claiming is that this is going to be the best thing under the sun for you, because now we'll be able to read your energy and your heart rate from in your body. And, oh, it's going to be so nice. We can monitor you from long distance. And all these quantum dots that they've been putting into people are actually liquid semiconductors. It's the first stage of creating a half human, half cyborg.
Wow.
And then we were like, well, why is all this PEG, this polyethylene glycol 5000 found in the shots? And why is all these, fibers that we're seeing in there? We literally had to go, and everything that we found, we had to identify and then try to figure out what the heck this thing is. And I could tell you, we're living in a whole nother world right now. No doctor is trained on synthetic biology. Nobody's trained, because they siloed all of the researchers. It dates back actually to Operation Paperclip, when they brought all the German scientists over here after World War II. And ultimately, all this stuff really started happening around the 60s. They wanted to engineer every single part of your life. I tell people, I said, just imagine if I was to tell you that your life, every single aspect of your life has been engineered and you don't even know it. From the time you're born, completely opposite the way you should be born, natural birth, you're born in a hospital, you see bright lights where it should be dark, you have that fear factor coming into your body right away. The next thing you know, you're watching specific cartoons on TV. You're being fed sugar, the sugar alone was one of the biggest engineering projects ever to get people addicted to sugar, because it's a poison. And one of the things that we found in the transhumanism agenda that they're using the bacteria and the yeast in your body as manufacturing facilities for these spike venomous glycoproteins. Why do I say venomous? Because we're finding up to 36 different types of venoms in people's bodies. So that's a whole nother conversation about how they work these snake genes in, which was one of the things that I just couldn't figure out. But Dr. Brian Ardis, which you should have him on your show, he's figured this whole thing out.
So there's snake venom in people's bodies right now?
There's snake venom being produced in people's bodies right now. Yes, there is. Yep.
Wow.
And Dr. Chetty over in India has been identifying different types of venoms in stool samples. And for me, it was, so the vectors that we found are that they're using fungus and yeast and E. coli. They're using weaponized bacteria and yeast and fungus. It's a lot easier to manipulate bacteria and yeast with genetic modification to where they can start producing whatever they want these yeast and bacteria to produce. And what most people don't realize is that your body right now, 97% of the cells in your body right now are non-human cells. You only have 3 to 4% of the cells in your body as human cells. Most of them, 90% of the cells in your body are in your gut, and they're bacteria. And about 7% are all the fungus and yeast and mold and parasites and all the other stuff that people have inside their system.
Wow.
So if you were like an evil person trying to control people, would you go after the human DNA, or would you go after the 97% of the bacteria and the yeast and the fungus that's in the system, the parasites?
Right.
So by controlling the parasites, they can actually control you. And the definition of a parasite is anything that lives off of a host or lives in a host that does it harm, which can be nanotechnology, which can be, another person can be a parasite, a TV show can be a parasite, the mainstream news media can be a parasite. But we've seen a massive growth of parasites in people's bodies, especially yeast and bacteria. And that goes back to even what Dr. Royal Raymond Rife, who developed the Rife machine, found in his findings. He was doing cancer research, and he had a light microscope. This was back in the 20s through the 40s. And he was actually rated. I was on the Rife research team in the 90s with Barry Lyons, and actually got Rife's original lab manuals and all of his original stuff. And in his book, he was developing frequencies that would kill bacteria and yeast. And he, under his microscope, he saw that under stress, a bacteria can actually change to a yeast. And a yeast can change to a bacteria.
Wow.
So somebody knows what they're doing, because now that they're genetically modifying the yeast and the bacteria, if the yeast gets stressed out, it's just going to switch over to a bacteria. And if the bacteria gets stressed out, it's going to switch over to a yeast. So the vectors that we've identified, and by the way, this is the first time that I'm actually talking about this. I'm scheduled to produce, this research in September. So I want everybody to know right now, I'll never kill myself. Just to get that on the air. So this is the transhumanism agenda and what they're doing. So they're using the frequencies. They're using the frequencies, blue light actually as well.
Okay.
Remember when Biden banned incandescent lighting last year?
Yeah.
Why did he ban incandescent lighting? He banned incandescent lighting because they want all blue lighting everywhere.
Wow.
So there's one company out there I think it's called Chromalux, that has the incandescent lighting that's still available that you can use. So the vectors that they're using, it all comes into play. They're using parasites as one vector, which are mostly yeast and bacteria. And what happened during everybody drank a bunch of alcohol and ate a bunch of sugar. What feeds the parasites, they've already created and got people addicted to. So number one, I'll give people some solutions too, to start doing parasite cleansing, start getting rid of the parasites, because even the worms, like we're pulling out. We had a lady the other day that evacuated a worm about this long, which was a hybrid. We're calling them synthetic hybrids.
Yeah.
It looked like a snake. It had two heads on it.
Holy crap.
And we took the skin off of it and looked at it under the microscope. We have those images. It looks exactly like a snake skin.
Wow.
This is the kind of stuff that we're seeing like behind the scenes that no one's talking about when you hear the transhumanism agenda. You might be asking, why snakes? Why is all this snake stuff? Well, think about the beginning of time. Think about what the medical staff, the caduceus with the snake, the Garden of Eden with the snake. There's even a temple, a 1,200-year-old temple that tries to warn us about genetic engineering in the future, and it shows a snake merging with a human.
Wow.
And it shows pictures, this was 1,200 years ago, of half human, half snake. So I was researching all of Dr. Brian Ardis' stuff, and I'm like, so what is the deal with snake? Why are they trying to get merge us with snake somehow? And I was researching the transhumanism agenda, and I said, okay, let me start is if they were to accomplish what they were going to accomplish, and they have a half cyborg, half human person, and work backwards. Well, I couldn't go much further because they have to control you through frequencies. That's how they control you. And by the way, I've got documentation that shows the rat studies and everything where they can literally control you. They can control your thoughts. They can control your body movements. They can control your organs. They can control every single thing about you.
Is that through music primarily?
Mostly through extremely low frequencies, HARP frequencies, megahertz frequencies, 3, 4, 5G, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10G frequencies, gigahertz frequencies, microwave frequencies, radio frequencies. They can do it through music as well.
Wow.
But there's always the opposite of that too, like the good music with the solfeggio tones and,
right.
and
so
stuff
no more
like that.
microwaves, you're saying? Don't use those?
Oh, throw your microwave away. The microwave kills all the nutrients in the food anyway.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, so that's when you get into, they also want a lot of metals in your body. They need a lot of metals in your bodies as transducers and as receivers. And they've also got us contaminated with so many metals. They've been spraying. It's a fact now that we've found barium, strontium, cadmium, arsenic in the geoengineering projects and the chemtrails that they're spraying over us. People drink out of aluminum cans. They use aluminum deodorant. There's fluoridated and brominated water everywhere. And the inorganic minerals that we're getting from spring water and that we're getting, we think, I'm drinking spring water. It's so good for me. but it contains inorganic minerals. Inorganic minerals are just tiny, tiny, tiny little rocks, right?
Wow.
Organic minerals is what we need. And that's why another recommendation we're telling people to do is to drink distilled water.
So this.
Yeah, we were lied to about distilled water. Distilled water is actually extremely beneficial at what we were told in medical, training and everything. Oh, don't drink distilled water. It's going to take the minerals out of your body.
Yeah.
Yes, it does take the inorganic rocks out of your body, the inorganic minerals, which are not carbon-based. Organic minerals are carbon-based. Inorganic minerals are non-carbon-based. And, you can break those down in the body if you have enough hydrochloric acid in your stomach or if your liver is functioning. But the liver is also one of the weapons. I know your liver is your savior, but it's also one of the things that they're attacking in people. Most people right now on the planet, their liver is not functioning more than 15%.
15%?
15%. It's
Wow.
your detoxification organ. So they want all these minerals in your body. They want all the metals in your body. They want all the parasites in your body. They want you to have a bad diet. They want you to be exposed to all these EMFs and all these frequency devices. They want you dumbed down so you don't know what's going on and you don't ask any questions. They want to divert your attention away from yourself all the time so you never figure out what they're doing and how they're doing it. So the solution is to get rid of all the chemicals and all the metals in your body. You could do that through toxin binders, ozonated activated charcoal, like a microsomal, EDTA, some clays, stuff like that. Doing a parasite cleanse, getting rid of all the bacteria and all the candida and all that other stuff. Now, the hard part, apple cider vinegar, believe it or not, is working. Organic apple cider vinegar. What we've seen happen from phase 1 to phase 2 now, and this is over the last month that we've been looking at blood, is we're starting to see more of these polymers grow in people. So the first was the quantum technology introduced, which was self-assembling and self-replicating. Now we're starting to see all these polymers in the blood, almost like the blobs. They're just like we take blood and it just goes and eats and drains and harvests the energy from your blood cells, your red blood cells and your white blood cells. And they just start growing and growing. And these polymers are producing antennas. It blows me away whenever I see this stuff under the microscope and these images, which we have of just these self-replicating, self-assembling polymers and all these PEGs and these plastics that are developing inside the system. And this is one of the harder things that we're trying to figure out how to stop because this is like the second stage of the transhumanism agenda where these antennas are growing and the graphene is in there and the quantum dots have now all merged into these little microcomputers. And we have evidence that they are putting in these genetic modifications, this gene to produce spider silk. So we're starting to see these silky fibers showing up in people's blood. And spider silk is actually stronger than steel and Kevlar.
Holy crap.
So how do you dissolve spider silk once it's in the bloodstream? That's kind of what we're working on right now, is trying to develop like advanced toxin binders. You had Jonathan Otto on your show. That's another reason after all of us, by the way, we all quit the task force after 3 weeks of being on, all 27 of us, because we knew there was another agenda going on.
Wow. That episode got deleted, by the way, Jonathan Otto's.
So that got deleted. One of the reasons I came out in 2021 after the task force was because the urine therapy was one of the things that we found because it had urokinase in it, and it's the only thing that has your original quantum energy field code. I've studied urine therapy for over 30 years. I was the one that introduced Jonathan Otto to it. And I came out publicly in 2021 to try to save people, to be able for them to be able to detox from the bioweapon and be able to save themselves from all the clotting that was happening in their bloodstream. What I found out while I was part of the task force was that in India and other countries, they use that all the time as a medicine. It's just here in the U.S., we think it's kind of weird, but ultimately it's a very highly vibrational plasma that contains your quantum energy signature code. If you go get stem cells from anyone else, anybody else's body, you're not getting your original quantum vibrational code. You're getting theirs. So your DNA has a physical component and it has a spiritual component or a quantum component to it. This physical side is what science looks at. Oh, here's the double helix and blah, blah, blah. Only the spiritual naturalists know and measure the quantum energy signatures of your DNA, which is your blueprint, really. That's what we're all born with, that spirituality.
Right.
And so I was looking at the time, they were talking about potentially raiding people's homes, gathering them in vans, taking them to concentration camps, stuff like that. And I was saying, well, what can people do? What's something that's free, something that's natural, something that has their own quantum vibrational code stem cells in it? And there's only two ways that you can do that. You can do that through water-only fasting. That's been proven that through the autophagy process that your body produces stem cells, and then through your own urine. And urine is an anti-venom. It's an antibiotic. It's everything. It's the highest vibrational product you can put in your system. As a matter of fact, there's 6 particles. They call them God particles. Scientists still haven't even been able to identify.
Wow, in urine?
In urine. And there's superconscious gold in urine, and there's gold in your semen as well. And that comes into play when you're looking at increasing your vibrational energy. There was a study in India just recently where they took a liter of urine and they measured the amount of energy in 1 liter of urine, and it was 6.4 kilowatts. It ran a medium-sized house for a day. 8 hours. That's the power of the urine. So, yeah, you can go buy a 6-pack of cow urine in India, and in the Middle East, you can buy camel urine and stuff like that. It's just another lie that we've been led to believe is like some toxic thing. It's some poison or whatever. Usually, whenever they say something like that, it's usually just the opposite. But here's the good news. We're in a great awakening right now. So all of this transhumanism stuff, we're already coming up with solutions, which are just detox your body, make those decisions to start cleaning your liver. Do liver cleansing, do heavy metal cleansing, do parasite cleansing, clean and heal your gut, put some really good probiotics in your gut, and try to avoid or protect yourself from any of the EMFs as much as possible. I personally don't think that their agenda is going to happen. I mentioned earlier to you my block there with the transhumanism. I couldn't get past the point where I was like, how can they be doing this? Because I had the documents that show that even 5G causes double strand breaks to the human DNA. So it just didn't make sense. How can they, they're going to kill us off before they get to the point where they can control us. And then all the snake stuff started coming in. I was like, well, wait a second. Why are they using all this snake stuff? And as we started digging deeper and deeper and deeper, it's everywhere. I mean, they're using it for genetic engineering. They're using it just everywhere, all these venoms. I mean, look at Ozempic. Ozempic, all these women are taking Ozempic. Ozempic's made from Gila monster venom, the Gila monster venom. They're using venoms for everything, which ultimately all these women who are taking the Ozempic are going to ultimately be poisoned, over time. And it's like 80% chance after 2 years of them coming down with thyroid cancers. And have you noticed the amount of turbo cancers that have been happening lately? All of that is because of all this stuff working together. So really, right now, here's some good news. We're going through a great awakening. This is beautiful. This is a beautiful time that we're in. Even though there's a bunch of stuff going on, a bunch of chaos, which, by the way, the political system is engineered, the wars are engineered, all this stuff is engineered. Right. Okay? For you to divert you away from who you really are, which is an enlightened being. We are here on this planet to become enlightened beings. Right now, we're in an energy shift. We're coming into the next level of consciousness. This is the Great Awakening. You have 3 levels of vibration on the planet right now. You have the dark line at the bottom, the black, where there's no light. These are people that are probably never going to wake up. I mean, God bless their soul. Hopefully they will wake up, but they're vibrating at a very low vibration and energy. They're out of it. They're not connected. The mainstream, they watch CNN or, they're watching mainstream and they're just so far gone.
What % of people you think are like that?
Well, I was hoping a lot more until the pandemic happened, but when I saw that, I was just, oof. I would say probably, I think it's gotten a lot better. That's why I have lots of hopes, because of shows like you and other people that are getting the word out. I don't know. I mean, I think once it reaches over 50 or 60%, then we're going to have a massive shift in consciousness. I would say probably 60% of the people right now, I believe, are probably still lost.
Wow, that many?
I think that many. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard for me to judge because all my friends know about what's going on, so
Yeah.
I don't know the
I know
numbers.
it's hard for me to judge too, but the thing is, the beautiful thing is, you in the middle you have the gray area, and that's half light and half darkness. And in the gray area, you do have some people coming up from the dark into the gray, and then
Yeah.
the people at the top are in the light area. Those are the people like us that are just getting the word out and teachers. The people in the light area are not, from an egotistical standpoint, like we're better than anybody else. We're actually very humble, and we actually feel like we're here for a purpose to try to speak the truth.
Yeah.
And we're here as more or less like wise ones and teachers, and it's our job to try to help the people transition to the next level and move up through the Great Awakening. But anytime there is a Great Awakening happen, or a shift on the planet, or a shift in society, there's always lots of pain and trauma and suffering. Now, pain and trauma and suffering can be an enlightening thing, or it can be a very damaging, death-defying thing. For example, if you have cancer and you go the medical route, that's pain and trauma and suffering you and your family are going through, and most likely you're going to die. You go the natural route, you're still going through pain and trauma and suffering, but if you get better, then every cancer patient I've interviewed over the years, and I've said, tell me about your experience going through this, they all say, I went through the most pain, the most trauma, and the suffering, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Wow.
Because it made me realize who I really was. I was spending too much of my time and energy at work. I wasn't paying attention to my diet. I wasn't paying attention to this. It made me go inside. It made me look at who my true self is. And I've interviewed many of Hollywood people that have, had issues with drugs and helped them through that. And, even some people that have been clean for 10 years, and I've said, well, what happened? How, you went to all these rehab centers and spent millions and millions of dollars, and now all of a sudden you're clean, for being clean for 10 years. What was it? Teach me. I want to know so I can teach other people. They said, I had to lose everything. I went through the most pain and trauma and suffering I've ever gone through. I lost my kids. I lost my wife. I lost my job. I lost all my money. And then something clicked. And I've been clean ever since. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And there's one sentence that I like, that I stuck by, that I learned, that, because people like to blame and people like to be the victim in things, is in your life, if you just think of no matter what it is that happens to you, whether at the time you might think it's horrible, it's, the worst thing ever, everything in my life happens for me, not to me. Because later you'll realize I was supposed to learn something from that, or there was something good that came from that, there was something positive that happened. And that's what we're going through right now. So, pay attention to yourself and see what you need to learn about you, and to grow and to open up your mind and to help other people transition through this great awakening process right now, and to wake up and to detox and protect yourself, your family, your body, your mind, and your soul.
Absolutely. I love that. Now, I know you mentioned your supplement company earlier. What's going on in the supplement industry right now?
Horrible things are going on in the supplement industry right now. I talked to a CEO of Big Pharma back in 2005, and he was laughing at me, and he said, you know what? Every single pharmaceutical company has in their long-term strategic plans to buy all you guys out in the future. You think that we don't have that in the plan? They're going to buy it all out. So they're going to own the natural and the pharmaceutical. And in the last 5 years, that's exactly what's been happening. They've been coming in and buying and conglomerating everything. BlackRock and State Street and all them, they're trying to own everything. It's not just the supplement industry. But the supplement industry is getting so bad that I've gotten offers of 5-6 times gross revenue for our
Holy
company.
crap.
Yes, but I'm not selling. Just recently, there was a big A4M conference. There were 19 brokers walking around to all the vendors buying them up.
Holy crap.
Any supplement company right now that has any private equity from venture capitalists, private equity firms, or they're getting so tricky. They're setting up these private equity firms and these venture capitalist firms that are like Green Earth Naturals or something.
Yeah.
And so they're saying, oh, we love your company. We love what you do. We love your values. Bring us in. And they don't care. The only thing they care about is return on investment, right? They want to flip the company or flip their shares in 3 to 5 years, or, start taking over and start looking at the bottom line on ingredients. And so then I start tracking, okay, Green Earth Naturals, who's that owned by? Oh, that's owned by this subsidiary. That's a subsidiary of Moderna. That's a subsidiary over here. Oh, who's that owned by? Oh, State Street, Vanguard, Blackstreet, BlackRock, all of these different subsidiaries. They're getting really good at it. And it's really sad because our industry has gone so downhill that we're finding even anything I use is always like we test the energy and the vibration, and we do identity testing. We're one of the only companies that do 3 levels of identity testing on raw materials, and we use only organic stuff, the highest vibrational stuff, from farms, et cetera. And recently, in the last 6 months, we're finding contaminated stuff everywhere.
Jeez.
No company is going to spend millions of dollars doing testing. Why do they? They get the organic certification from the vendor.
That's good
They
enough.
get the spec sheet. So, the liability is not on them. They're not going to spend extra money because that's money you don't really get back.
Right.
We do third party, send it out for testing. It passes that. Then we do another identity testing in-house. It passed that. And what we've been doing is a third form of identity testing, which is a fluorescent microscopy. And this is where we're finding all the contamination in products. So I recommend everybody, it doesn't matter what supplement you're taking, what supplement company you're taking, ask them for a country of origin list. If you have a product you like, contact the company. Most companies don't have their own manufacturing facility like we do, which we built the only certified organic facility from the ground up in the United States. We use all glass vessels. We don't use any plastic tubing in there. We do everything handmade. We infuse it with light energy. All the water we use is triple distilled biophotonic structured water and everything. Because I want to take it, and I'm a little bit of a mad scientist when it comes to putting stuff in my body. So we're starting to find like maltodextrin, silicon dioxide. We're starting to feel binders, grasses and stuff, and we're shipping it all back. And any company out there that's NSF certified also, be aware, because most of the companies that are NSF certified, you used to think it's like a really big, cool thing to have, but they require a metal detection system to be put on the end of the finished goods lines. That means like all your beautiful herbs that are so fresh and so vibrant and so full of energy, and then you're putting them like right through a microwave, and it just, why kill the life force? You try putting a live plant in the microwave and hitting it and blasting it and see what happens to it. That's going to die.
Wow, that is crazy. Yeah, I really need to check my brands. I just order stuff on Amazon like everyone else.
Well, you just let me know and I'll send you whatever you need. But yeah, so this is the big issue. Like no one actually follows up and tests and asks the company, is any part of the process of this supplement going above 120 degrees? Who's the owners behind the supplement company? Are you manufacturing it, or are you having a contract manufacturer manufacture it? Where, you would do that if you were feeding your baby some food or something, or you're putting something in your mouth. But that's part of the whole manipulation. They don't want you to think about those things. They don't want you to actually do a little bit of research and do a little bit of due diligence.
Right.
I'm always like sending, people are saying, what about this supplement? I'm saying, well, did you call them up and ask if they have any private equity investors in the company? Did you look and see who the owners are? I mean, you have Nestle, who now owns Garden of Life. They own Pure Encapsulations. I mean, you have these big companies that are taking over. They're getting all their ingredients from China. The majority of all these ingredients are coming from China, and they're contaminated with graphene oxide. They're contaminated with all kinds of fillers and excipients and stuff like that.
Crazy. Dr. Edward, it's been super enlightening learning from you, man. We're going to have to do a part 2. Anything else you want to close off with?
No, just everybody, just know that we're in the process of going through this roller coaster ride this year and probably next year. Just stay positive, stay out of fear, work on yourself, get more sunlight, do some more meditation, drink more pure, clean water, get off of sugar and alcohol as much as you possibly can, get your body moving, get within 15 pounds of your normal weight, start sleeping better. These are all the things that you can do for free. Just like really start taking care of yourself and keeping a really good positive attitude moving forward.
Awesome. And we'll link the site below. I think we got a code as well for discount.
Yes.
So we'll link all that below, guys, if you're interested. Thanks for watching. See you guys tomorrow.